my family in particular, there's a bit of alcoholism there.
That's inevitable though, isn't it?
This podcast contains graphic descriptions that some listeners may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Now, with that being said, welcome to the Mortal Musings podcast.
Right, let's do this.
Something that I think you're either on one side of the fence or the other, and we're on opposite sides of the fence with this.
We usually are.
You know when you buy canisters for tea, coffee, sugar, what have you?
Yeah.
There's some people who buy a container and there's other people that have to, and this isn't just tea and coffee, but other people who have to have everything in their home labelled.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
Well, I'm actually not. So when I had my own place back in UK, I had a box of tea bags, a jar of coffee, and a bag of sugar.
Yeah.
I didn't have them in anything.
Yeah, but when I wanted to get some canisters, I said, I really don't want ones that say tea, coffee, sugar. I don't really like that. It's not my thing. And every single set that you suggested said tea, coffee, and fucking sugar.
Right. My logic.
We don't have a lot of guests coming over. They don't need to know. Like, it's not like we do this to make it easier for anyone. We know which is which.
I don't give a shit for anyone else. It's for myself.
Yeah, but you know.
I don't know. How
do you not at this stage?
We have the exact same containers for all three. And the amount of times I've picked up the tea bags when I want the sugar. Because it's not labelled.
But I keep them in the exact same order. Tea, coffee, sugar. So,
No, you don't. They're stacked.
No, they are now after you rearrange the cupboard. Which, thank you for doing that. But the point still stands. I wasn't catching you out, moving them around.
I think you were.
I wasn't. You just refused to learn.
But
what?
I don't need to learn. They're in the exact same container. So how am I from looking at the outside? How am I supposed to know?
Because on your far left
don't
is
talk
tea.
Over me.
But you're going around in circles. I'm trying to cut to the chase. On your left, tea. Middle, coffee. Right, sugar.
I'm on about nah.
No, but you've chosen to move things around. You chose this. You made your decision.
Mm.
Anyway, that's getting off the topic anyway. My point being, you deliberately wanted everything labelled. You actually said to me about a year ago about a label maker. Yeah. And you wanted to label everything in the house just for the crack.
Well, it went for the crack.
What the fuck was it for?
Helpful.
But I know the toilet's a toilet.
It's to make things easier. I don't know. I just think it's something people do, isn't it?
Don't get me wrong, I do like organisation, but I think at a certain point it's just getting a bit much.
Well, before we get into the episode, I just want to say, if the audio quality has sounded any different in the past couple of episodes, it's because I'm trying out a new method of editing and haven't quite mastered it yet. I think they sound okay. But it's just to speed up the process.
It's just so Neil doesn't get abusive messages sent to him.
No one ever says anything to me, really.
No.
Not negative.
Not to your face, anyway.
Yeah. I haven't had any complaints about my jokes in the Halloween special yet, either. Oh,
we actually have a shout-out to do, which I apologise, we forgot to do on the last episode. We have Mia, who bought us 2 coffees.
Mia from Boston.
Boston. She said, "Have a coffee on me. A huge fan from Boston. You both never fail to brighten my day with each new episode. Cheers." Thank you, Mia.
Yeah, so
appreciate you.
I was actually messaging back and forth because I wanted to share it on our Instagram. I knew there was a Mia who followed us on Instagram, who had seen liking posts and commenting. But I was like, what if I tag this person? And then they're like, I didn't put that. That's not me.
Who the devil are you?
So I had to ask. And she said if we ever want to go to Boston, she'll get a rounding.
We're all going to Boston, lads. Whee!
Yeah. I don't think she understands how much we can drink.
Oh, no, you say that. Like, I know I'm Irish. I know it's in my heritage. And my family in particular, there's a bit of alcoholism there.
That's
cannot.
inevitable, though, isn't it? What's wrong?
But I'm not a big drinker myself. Like I can, I do drink, but 2 drinks and I'm on my way. Do you know what I mean? It's actually great because it's cheaper for me.
Yeah, but the Americans, their drink's weak as piss, isn't it?
So is the British.
What?
English drink is weak as shit. Piss.
Well, anyway, what we're covering today?
Today we are going to be talking about the Bone Breaker Killer. Also, the survival of Thad Phillips.
Thad what?
Thad Phillips.
Thad Phillips.
Thad, short for Thaddeus.
What are you saying to me? Right.
Okay.
Thaddeus.
His name is Thaddeus, yeah?
Yeah.
But shortening it to Thad.
Why are you shortening it?
Because he goes by Thad.
Oh. Bone Breaker.
The Bone Breaker Killer.
So what was his deal?
Thad isn't the Bone Breaker Killer. What's his deal? Well, I tell you, Neil, he was I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even have something to say to that.
So he's breaking bones?
Yes.
Okay. I hadn't heard of this one. Is it popular? Well, not popular. Common. Not common. Well known.
They've done a few shows about it.
Okay. Where was this?
Where do you think?
Florida.
No. I thought you were going to guess a country. It's the good old US of A.
Okay. Well, could see that coming. When was it?
90s. If you let me start, you're going to find literally all of that in the first sentence.
Okay, I'm sorry.
In July of 1995, 13-year-old Thad Phillips moved to the quiet town of Baraboo, Wisconsin, along with his parents and 3 younger siblings. They've only been there for 2 weeks, not even fully unpacked, when on the 28th of July, after going out for dinner that night, Thad decides to stay up late with his sister and watch a movie after his parents had gone to bed. Eventually, Thad falls asleep on the sofa. Hours later, he feels someone reach under him and lift him up. He initially thinks it's one of his parents scooping him up, trying not to wake him in the process of bringing him to bed.
Yeah.
We all remember that. The good old days, huh?
Well, I do it now. Don't I?
I don't carry you to bed, though.
No. You leave me there, uncovered, and then I wake up in the middle of the night freezing.
No, but I'm specifically referencing when you were a kid. You'd fall asleep and your parents would carry you to bed.
Mine wouldn't. He'd wake me up and say, go to bed.
So he scooped up and someone's carrying him.
Yeah.
After a minute or so, Thad hears a noise and snaps out of his groggy state. He realises he's now outside, and the person carrying him is not his father. He can hardly see. Not only is it dark out, but they're also out in the sticks. There's no street lights. And I tell you what, you don't know real darkness until you're out in the country. Do you remember when we were living further out?
Yeah.
I remember getting up and going to the kitchen for a glass of water in the middle of the night. I'd look out the window, nothing.
Yeah.
And I was so paranoid a face was just going to pop up and appear. I was terrified every time. I did not like that.
I should have.
Honestly, God, it freaked me out. You're not fond of the dark. You get quite uncomfortable. I wouldn't have said I was scared of the dark.
I don't know if
true darkness.
I don't know if quite uncomfortable is the correct term. So, say it right.
Shit scared.
So we have a lamp above the bed on the headboard, and the switch for it is on Megan's side. If I walk into the bedroom and she switches that off, I stop.
Yeah.
I'm not walking until that telly's on.
Yeah, you freeze.
Yeah, I'm not
petrified, actually.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's petrified or I just don't want to stub my toe.
What do you mean you don't know? It's you who's experiencing it.
I just know the light goes off, I stop.
So you're scared?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? It's you who's experiencing it.
Well, it's the fear of stubbing my toe.
No, but you know what the fear is. Are you really terrified you're going to break your toe? Or are you scared that there's something that you can't see?
Bit of both, I think.
So anyway, it's dark. He can't see who it is.
Yeah.
Thad is trying to get a proper view of who this was. The person puts him down and he asks Thad if he can run. Now, Thad is, again, unsure of who this guy is, and he's practically half asleep, and he's trying to make sense of what is going on.
Yeah.
He's thinking, is this guy in trouble? Does he need my help? You know, he was thinking, could this guy know my dad? You know, remember, they've only just recently moved in, and he doesn't even know everyone yet.
Yeah.
Thad thought that maybe he'd already asked his father, and that, you know, his father had said no, so he went to the next person in the house. The person says to him he's having car trouble, just up the hill, and is in need of help. They make their way up the road, not towards a car, but a run-down house at the end of the road. Once inside the house, with the lights on, Thad can see that this is not a man, but a teenage boy, not much older than he is. But he's a lot bigger than Thad. He's got about 70 pounds on Thad.
Wait. So, Thad thought someone had come into his house.
Someone had.
No. Thad thought someone had come into his house, picked him up while he was asleep, to take him to help fix his broken down car.
So, initially picking him up, he just thought, I can feel like someone putting their arms around me.
Yeah.
He assumed it was one of his parents. He said it was normal for them to do that. It wasn't anything unusual.
Mm.
And then he's getting outside, he hears the noise. So he's still half asleep and that happens, he just notices it. He kind of wakes up a bit, but you got to think he's half asleep. He doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He said himself, he's trying to make sense of it. So he's trying to think of a logical reason why this is happening, what's going on.
Yeah, but I think once it got to the point where the guy was like, you know, I'm having car trouble, I need your help, I'd be like, the fuck were you doing in my house?
Well, it's the whole thing of like an adult isn't going to go to a child and ask for help. And if they are, it's a bit fucking weird.
Yeah.
The boy introduces himself as Joe. And by now, he is friendly and chatty with Thad. They talk about model cars, baseball cards, and football cards. He also tells Thad that others were going to be coming over to the house, including a couple of people that Thad also knew, putting him somewhat at ease. Of course, Thad is obviously a bit disorientated, but he doesn't feel an immediate sense of danger. He felt as though he was just talking with one of his peers. He would later say that he didn't know how to explain it. It just all felt like it was happening so fast. So Thad starts to relax a bit, lets his guard down, and starts looking through the baseball cards. As they're talking, and Thad is looking through the cards, Joe suddenly lurches at him. He throws him on the bed and grabs his ankle. He twists it until he hears the bone snap. Thad screams out in pain.
I bet he fucking did.
As Thad looks up at him, Joe has his hands over his head. He looked almost sad about what he'd done, possibly ashamed. And as Joe is stood there contemplating what he had done, Thad makes a run for it. And as he's running, he said that he can feel the bone in his ankle slipping around. So he's literally running on this ankle. He's just getting the fuck out of there.
Mm.
He manages to get down the stairs, through the kitchen, before Joe catches up to him. He puts Thad in a chokehold, drags him back into the sitting room, and slams him onto the floor. Joe grabs Thad's right leg, forces it over his head until he can hear Thad's thigh bone break.
Fucking hell.
I know, it's fucking intense, this. At this point, Thad is terrified. His adrenaline is pumping so hard that he said, although he heard a pop, it didn't really hurt.
Yeah. Well, I was only talking to you about adrenaline the other day.
Yeah.
I know. It's an amazing thing.
So, after Joe has, broken Thad's thigh bone, Joe starts acting normal, as if they're just friends hanging out. He asks Joe, "Why are you doing this?" Joe tells Thad that he is fascinated with the sound of breaking bones.
Bet you're on.
Well, that's what Thad says to him.
Oh.
Thad asks, "Why don't you just do it to yourself?" Joe tells him that he can never get the right angle.
And it'd hurt.
Well, I mean, as far as I know, he didn't say that. He focused on the angle thing.
So that's the sign of a psychopath because, right, a finger is easy to break, but I haven't got the willpower to break my own finger.
Yeah.
Like, my body won't let me
Yeah.
do it hard. I know I can do it hard enough to break my finger, but my body's not going to let me
Yeah.
do it. He didn't even answer that. I can't get the angle.
In that moment, Thad realizes that he's got to think this through if he wants to survive. Joe puts Thad on the sofa and tells him to get some sleep.
No. I was, until you fucking woke me up.
As Joe lies down on the other sofa and shuts his eyes, Thad is laid there, scanning the room for something, anything that he could use to defend himself against Joe. His mind keeps going to his family. He's thinking, do they know I'm gone yet? Are they looking for me? Is there about to be a knock on the door?
And this is relatively close to his house, isn't it?
900 yards.
Shit.
Yeah. He wondered if Joe was going to let him go come morning, but he would soon realise that was never Joe's intention. As morning arrives and the light of the day creeps in, Thad is taking notes of his surroundings. The house was filthy. There were stains everywhere, clothes thrown about, and rubbish littered the home. It's also late July. It was absolutely roasting, with no AC or window cracked open. He asked Joe if he can call home. To Thad's surprise, Joe hands him the phone.
What?
He was just toying with him. It wasn't even connected.
Oh.
Little shit. At 4 a.m. that morning, Thad's mother Connie got up. She noticed a light was left on in the kitchen, which they would never usually do. She went into the sitting room and noticed that Thad wasn't there. She checked the bedrooms. He's not there either. She checks the entire home, including the basement, and panic starts to set in. Thad's father, Donald, went out and searched for him for hours, including the river where they would sometimes go camping, and the nearby fairgrounds. Unfortunately, they didn't even think to go house to house because they were new in town, and they didn't think neighbours would necessarily recognise him.
Yeah.
Not realising that their son was only just down the road. This was also a very quiet community. It wasn't their immediate thought that it was, some head-the-ball neighbour who could be doing this. I wouldn't say it's many people's first thought, but this is a true crime podcast, so I'd say the majority of you guys would probably immediately jump to that conclusion.
Yeah. Maybe not me.
No, probably not you. Thad said himself, quote, I was pretty much aware that there was people like that in the world. I just didn't think that they'd live half a mile away from me.
They're everywhere.
It is the thing, though. It's kind of like, oh yeah, that does happen, but not to me. Not to someone I know.
That reminds me of Megan was covering the morning cleaners at work. And while she's cleaning the gents' toilets before the place had opened, a male member of staff came in, stood at the urinal closest to Megan, got his lad out and started to piss. So Megan immediately left the bathrooms. So I said, he shouldn't have done that. Like, there's no cameras in the bathroom. It's not just to protect Megan, it's to protect him.
Mm.
What if Megan had started screaming sexual assault or sexual harassment? And when I was saying that to someone else, they were like, saying about the male worker, oh, but he's lovely, he's quiet, he wouldn't do anything like that. And I went, Jeffrey Dahmer was fucking quiet.
Still got his prick out, didn't he?
Ed Gein, yeah. It's still a bloke with his lad in his hand.
We had one member of staff who, you said it to her and she was like, you need to fucking report that immediately.
Yeah.
And then the other one was like, they'll never believe you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like the fucking, there's no grey area in this place.
So
What is the other?
I was basically saying Jeffrey Dahmer were fucking quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Bundy were quiet. Ed Gein were quiet. I went, the loud brass ones, don't worry about them. It's the quiet ones you have to worry about.
Back at the house where Thad is being held, Joe wakes up. Unsurprisingly, Thad had not slept from the intense pain that is now really starting to set in from his 2 broken ankles and broken thigh bone. Joe gets up from the sofa and he moves Thad upstairs. Thad tries to fight back, and he's screaming at Joe, which just made him more aggressive. So at this point, both of Thad's ankles are now broken, as well as his thigh bones. But that wasn't enough for Joe. He would go back to his ankles and keep twisting them about.
Ooh.
Thad described his skin as looking like a twisted rubber band at this point.
See, I'd got the, you know them sweets where they're twisted?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'd got in my head.
While doing this, Joe is so engrossed in what he's doing that he's not even speaking. He's just focused on manipulating the already fractured bones in Thad's legs.
So this is the real life version of misery.
Yeah, basically. In an effort to get him to stop, Thad hits Joe in the back. Joe turns to him, puts a pillow over his face, and tells him that if he doesn't stop fighting, he's going to break his neck or back. And with that threat, Thad stops fighting. Thad also tried to somewhat calmly talk to Joe. He asked Joe if he's ever done this to anyone else. Joe tells him that yes, he has, and he gives him the names of 2 other boys. Thad is starting to realise that if Joe is speaking so freely about previous victims, it's unlikely that Joe is going to let him get out of there alive.
Yeah. The more information they give you, you're fucked.
Well, it's that whole thing of they're that comfortable.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He also remembered there were multiple times during this that Joe would head outside and try to start his car. Each time that he failed to do so, he'd come back in, angry and frustrated. Who do you think he took the frustration out on?
Well, not himself.
No, it was Thad, believe it or not.
See, if I was Thad, I'd be like, right, let's test his intelligence. Joe, my father is a whiz at working on cars. My dad would get that started. Go and get me dad. Wonder if that would have worked.
I can't see it. But it's worth a shot. God loves a trier. At about 5 p.m, Thad can hear Joe talking on the phone. And from what he can gather, it sounded like it was Joe's girlfriend arranging to come over and pick him up. By 6 p.m, Thad is subjected to more torture. Joe is just continuously manipulating his bones. Once he was finished, Joe walks over to his dresser, which was filled with over 300 pairs of clean white socks. He grabs multiple pairs and puts them on Thad, layering them up. And perfectly so, he will place the sock on, straighten it, making sure the ribs in the fabric were straight, lined up, and the heel of the sock was properly positioned. He was basically, it was a makeshift cast, what he was doing. He would also put leg braces on Thad and try to get him to walk with them on. So at this point, Thad doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
I don't.
But he does know that there is a high likelihood that this isn't going to end anytime soon.
If he told me to walk, I'd say, fuck off. You either carry me or get a wheelchair.
Well, it's so fucking twisted, breaking the bones, manipulating the already fractured bones, but then I'm going to play fucking doctor and fix what I've done to you.
So I wonder if he's schizophrenic. I wonder if there's 2 Joes, so to speak.
Because of this, he tries to humanize himself to Joe. He tells him that there are people who are going to be missing him, that they will be out looking for him. He pleads for Joe to let him go, but Joe tells him that it's too late and he just can't do that now. Thad says to him that, he'll tell people that he fell. He won't tell anyone that it was Joe who did this to him. Joe sort of hummed and hawed, but ultimately was like, no, they're not going to believe you. We can't do that. That night, as arranged, Joe leaves the house to meet his girlfriend. But before he does, he makes sure that Thad isn't going to be able to escape. He jumps on Thad's legs. He slams down onto his legs with his knees and stomps on his legs. He then moves Thad to the upstairs bedroom and heads out for the night. Thad is now in and out of consciousness, but he does hear the front door close and lock. He realises he's got to try and make a run for it. He painstakingly manoeuvres his way off the bed, into the hallway, using just the strength in his arms to drag his body. When he gets to the stairs, he pretty much has no choice but to more or less sort of throw his body down the stairs.
Yeah.
When he lands at the bottom of the stairs, he passes out. But when he comes to, he starts to make his way through the home. He crawls a few feet at a time before passing out. He repeats this process over and over again before he almost makes it to the kitchen and to the phone. He has to stop when he hears Joe and his girlfriend arrive home. He lays perfectly still, praying that they're not going to hear him. He waits till they say their goodbyes. Unfortunately, Joe walks in and he finds Thad laid there. And he's shocked that Thad has made it all the way down there as far as he did.
And he went, fair fucks to you. For that, I'll take you on.
Not quite.
Oh.
Joe was pissed. He was fucking fuming about Thad's ability here.
But is the girlfriend seeing it now?
No. Oh. She's left the house. And Joe walks in and sees him there.
Okay.
He grabs Thad. He drags him back up the stairs. And once upstairs, he grabs Thad's ankle, twists them around again, and also jumps on his legs again.
But at this point, do you think it'd just be numb?
Well, by now, Thad's feet are swollen to fuck and they're actually positioned backwards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's also suffering from internal bleeding due to all the broken blood vessels in his legs. That evening, he places Thad on the sofa and they watch movies together.
Okay, that's fucked.
It's very creepy, isn't it?
Watch it be something like Saw.
On Sunday morning, it was Thad's brother's birthday. The same day, his parents have to file a missing persons report. By Sunday evening, Joe subjected Thad to his most vicious beating yet. He really wanted to make sure that Thad wasn't going anywhere while he was out this time. Thad recalled the sounds of his grunting as he put all his force into beating him. But Thad was a cute-er. He decided to start diverting Joe's attention. During the attack, Thad would keep telling Joe that he thinks he can hear someone outside. Joe would keep running to the window to check. Thad did this just to stop the beating, if even just for 10 seconds, to give him that time just to breathe and kind of have a quick break from it. And he did this about 5 or 6 times during the attack. By the time the attack was over, Thad's kneecaps were now backwards.
Fucking hell.
Before Joe leaves, he's not taking any chances. He drags Thad into the closet and locks the door. Now, this closet, like the rest of the house, was littered with shite. Thad searches for something to break the door open. He tries a thermos to break the door down, but it wasn't heavy enough. Now, don't forget, his legs are crushed.
He'll be weak as fuck.
Exactly. He's extremely dehydrated and is suffering from internal bleeding. This is no easy feat.
Yeah.
He searches through the closet and he finds an old electric guitar. He puts all his weight into smashing it into the door and is able to burst a panel off the door and reach out to unlock it. Again, he makes his way out of the room, down the hall, gets to the stairs, and has to throw his body down the stairs again.
With his kneecaps backwards and his feet backwards.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
He gets to the bottom of the stairs. He passes out. It's fucking Groundhog Day for this lad. He comes to and he begins to make his way to the kitchen. Same thing again, along the way, passing out, coming to, passing, But he does get to the kitchen this time. He gets to the phone and luckily it was, the long corded phone. So he was able to pull it down, grab the receiver and call 911. Thad was said to have been so calm and collected during this call that when the detective is told about this call, he actually said, this better not be a joke. Because they'd already got the missing persons report.
Yeah.
So when someone's like, yeah, hi, it's me. By the way, this has just happened. He is, I listened to it and he is very literally like, yeah, it's me. Like, this has happened. It's like, who is this fucking kid? Luckily, the police were familiar with Joe from previous run-ins that he had had.
I'm going to say, yeah.
He's a wrong'un.
Yeah.
Police arrive at the home to what they describe as a sense of danger and evil. They make their way in and they find Thad laid on the floor. Immediately, an ambulance is called. As Thad is taken to the hospital, police begin searching the home. Now, the place was a fucking kip and a fucking stank as well. Because of the heat and there's no air conditioning.
I was going to say because of the heat.
Yeah. Among other things they find, there's a notebook. And inside this notebook, they find 3 pages filled with the names of other boys. And they were divided into 3 categories. The first one was get to know. The next one was can wait. And the third was a leg thing.
A leg thing?
A leg thing.
What do you mean?
Leg thing?
Yeah.
Breaking the bones in their legs?
Oh.
You don't seem alarmed at all that he's got a list of boys that he's going to do this to.
No, but I didn't know what leg thing meant. A leg thing. It doesn't say break the fucking legs.
Well, he has to speak somewhat in code, Neil. Come on. Unaware yet that Thad has been rescued from his imprisonment, or that he'd even been held, Thad's mother is sat at home. She sees police cars and the ambulance speed by. And of course she's thinking, holy fuck,
yeah,
some shit is going down. She then gets a call from the police, telling her that they have Thad, and that he's being rushed into emergency surgery. The doctor said that the internal bleeding was so severe that he could well have been dead within the next 2 hours.
Really?
Before Thad is even out of surgery, Joe is found at a nearby party and is taken into custody. The first thing that he said to police was, quote, he's still alive. Now, obviously Thad has been through it in the last few days and needs time to recover. But police also need to start their investigation as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So as Thad is in the hospital recovering, he's racking his brain trying to remember the name of those 2 boys that Joe had named previously. He remembers the name Chris, and that the surname began with an S, but not much else.
Show him the book.
Well, Thad's dad then gets the phone book out, and he sits with him, and he goes through all the different names beginning with an S. As he gets to the name Steiner, Thad confirms that was the name that Joe had said to him. Chris Steiner. Now, like we said, Thad and his family were new to this town. They didn't know who this was. But everyone else in the area knew the name. His death had shocked the local community. Back on the 11th of July, 1994, 14-year-old Chris Steiner's body was found tangled in branches down by the Wisconsin River. The location of his death was unknown, but they did find a shoe nearby. Chris had been missing since the 3rd of July. During an autopsy, water was found in Chris's lungs, but not much more investigation was done into his cause of death. And for some reason, no x-rays of his body were performed, which would have been the usual procedure.
I don't understand. A 14-year-old is found dead and they didn't really investigate it like they should.
I have no idea what happened here, why they dropped the ball through the fucking ground.
Yeah.
Like, smashed the fucking floor. I don't know what the hell was going on here. Detectives talked to Chris's mother. They asked her who he had been in contact with, and she told them Joe Clark. Among Chris's family, they had some suspicions as to Joe's involvement in Chris's death. Joe had been friendly with Chris's older brother and would often enough be in and around the Steiners' home. Joe told police that Chris's mother was mistaken and that he hadn't seen Chris that night. But Chris's home told a more sinister story. The screen of Chris's bedroom window had been slashed open and there were muddy footprints found. It doesn't exactly seem like Chris had just headed out with a few mates that night.
Yeah.
Other kids in the area were questioned, which some of them did have opinions, but it was all hearsay. There was nothing really that the police could use. And Joe's mother had also given him an alibi. She said that he was home that night and that if he had tried to sneak out, she would have known. Joe was their main suspect, but with his alibi and with no evidence against him, Chris's death would remain unsolved until the following year.
So Joe actually lived somewhere else with his mum. This abandoned house was abandoned.
No, that was the house. He lived there with his mother and brothers.
Okay.
Police wanted to exhume Chris's body, but the prosecutor didn't think it was necessary.
Why?
I don't know what their fucking game was, but it seems Chris was failed.
Yeah.
At every fucking turn. I don't know. Luckily, Chris's family did want answers though, and they gave permission for his body to be exhumed. And this time around, they take x-rays and see that Chris's legs were broken nearly identical to Thad's. On the 12th of September 1996, Joe goes to trial for the attempted murder of Thad. He admitted to kidnapping Thad, but states that he blacked out during the torture sessions. He's found guilty and sentenced to 100 years in prison.
And that's just for the attempted murder?
Just for what he did to Thad. The following year, Joe is tried for the murder of Chris Steiner. He pleads not guilty. The alibi that his mother had previously given him didn't hold much weight. They now had multiple witnesses that claimed that it was not unusual for Joe to sneak out of the house through his bedroom window. They also had a testimony from a former juvenile inmate who claimed that Joe had told them about what he had done to Chris's body, leaving him draped over the branches of a tree. Not looking too good for him.
No.
And on the 7th of November, 1997, Joe was found guilty of the murder of Chris Steiner, and he was sentenced to life in prison. Joe will be eligible for parole in 2110.
2110. He'll be dead.
Yeah, he's not living that fucking long, unless he knows something we don't. Thad has since said, quote, "I hope he gets beat up every day of his life while he's in there."
Who said that?
Thad. In total, Thad spent 43 hours being held captive by Joe Clark, just 900 yards from his own home. If you remember from earlier, Joe mentioned two names to Thad. Unfortunately, Thad was never able to remember the name of the other person who was subjected to Joe's torture. And to this day, the other victim has never been identified.
Nothing from that book, no?
No, those were all, as far as I know, perspectives.
Okay.
You know? After a lot of surgeries and years of rehab, Thad regained the use of his legs. Although he does still suffer from the trauma that had been caused to his body.
Obviously.
Thad sued Joe, and he was awarded a $21 million settlement, consisting of $31,566 for medical expenses, $6 million in compensation, and $15 million in punitive damages.
I don't think Joe has that.
No, Thad has not received any money, as Joe doesn't have a fucking cent to his name, unfortunately. Thad still lives in Baraboo, and in 2023, another resident, Olga Johnson, set up a GoFundMe with a goal of $100,000. So far, $13,500 has been raised for Thad. She said, quote, "He saved the community, and I wanted to say thank you to Thad. He brought peace to Chris's family." And that is the case of Joe Clark, a.k.a. the Bone Breaker Killer, and the survival of Thad Phillips. And if you would like to donate, we'll link Thad's GoFundMe down below.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, Thad's a fucking G.
Yeah.
He's fucking lethal. Love this guy.
Yeah.
But this Joe fella is fucking terrifying.
See, you know when he said, "I blacked out in the attacks"?
Mm-hmm.
That might be so. Because he was so fucking...
I'm evil.
Like, well, no, he was so
Unhinged.
different. You know, he was twisting his fucking kneecaps around and then sitting and watching a movie with him.
I mean, the thing that kind of scares me is that he was so kind of concise when Thad is saying, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "I'm fascinated with the sound of bones breaking." Yeah, it's very literal.
Yeah, but which Joe was he talking to at that time?
It's a scary one. I mean, there's so much to this. There's obviously the survival story, which, you know, you love a survival story.
Yeah.
There's scary kind of potential serial killer thing going on. But then there's also the devastation of a victim who has never been identified.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot in this story.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Was he on I Survived?
Yeah, actually, he was, yeah.
Oh. Thought so. I know it sounds morbid, but I enjoyed that one.
There's something about a survival story. Like, you feel so fucking bad that a person had to go through this, but they're so fucking inspirational.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck, not only once, but twice, did that young lad throw himself down a fucking stairs, crawl through the house?
That.
Like,
yeah.
We were talking about adrenaline earlier, and I'm like, I just want to sit in my arse and watch telly.
Yeah.
And you got fucking Thad here. Fucking action man.
Oh, shit. So, oddity.
So, for someone to take inspiration from you or your image or something you've done, you'd consider it a compliment, wouldn't you?
No one takes inspiration from me.
You don't know that yet. They might do. You know? Now, I know you haven't seen Lord of the Rings before, but you're familiar with orcs.
So that's the listeners coming at me now.
Get them.
Because I haven't watched it.
Get them.
Harry Potter, never seen that.
I've seen most of them, not all of them.
But yeah, Lord of the Rings, when that came out, I think I've just been a scallywag. I don't...
well, the thing is, like Harry Potter, like you just said, I recently said to you, we actually do need to sit down and watch them through because people love them.
Yeah.
I've mainly seen them with my friends because they like them. I never really got that into it. But I'm going to give it a fair shot.
I know if I get into it, I'll want my own wand.
Oh, so you've deliberately kept yourself away from it, knowing the hysteria that you're going to fucking face. No, but yeah, that's fairly common in movies. You know, we see the likes of Leatherface, Buffalo Bill. The inspiration for them came from... Come on, Neil, pop quiz.
What?
Who inspired the likes of Buffalo Bill and Leatherface? Norman Bates.
Oh, Eddie.
Eddie! Yes, Ed Gein. Well, I've got another one for you today. Like I said, the orcs from Lord of the Rings. Did you know that Harvey Weinstein was the inspiration for one particular orc in the Lord of the Rings?
But didn't Harvey Weinstein write it?
He was the producer, I believe.
So he allowed this?
Well, he didn't know.
Oh.
This was a sneaky little... So Peter Jackson, he decided to model an orc after Harvey Weinstein because he spoke out previously about his shitty behaviour and he has described him as a bit of a bully. So it's a bit of a fuck you to Harvey Weinstein.
Okay.
If it's the orc that people, the fans have, they've been sifting through and like, it's him. If it's the one they think it is, there's a bit of a likeness there.
Okay.
Have a look.
It looks like a fucking brain.
It does a bit, yeah. I say that's a pretty fair description. Very accurate.
It's a bit of a kick in the bollocks for fucking Harvey.
I mean, he kind of deserves it though, no?
Why?
Because he's not a great person.
What, because he's a bit of a bully?
Well, he's also a dirty fucker.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he's currently in prison for sex offences.
Oh, shit.
And the likes.
Oh.
Yeah, no good. I actually...
oh, fuck Harvey then.
Yeah, fuck him. I actually came across another one. So, like we said about... Ed Gein was a big one for inspiring different characters in the horror genre.
Yeah.
Hannibal Lecter, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So his overall character was inspired by serial killers. Some of the kind of, the highly intelligent ones like Kemper and Bundy.
Yeah.
There's also another person that inspired the character of Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, Robert Maudsley.
No.
He absolutely did?
No, we're talking about the character.
Oh.
So, some inspiration for Hannibal Lecter actually came from a Mexican doctor called Alfredo Bali Trevino. He was convicted of killing his boyfriend at the time, slicing him into pieces, putting him into a box, and then burying that box.
Okay. Didn't wear his face?
No, he didn't. But he's also suspected of killing and dismembering hitchhikers. But I think the inspiration came more from the fact that this guy was quite kind of, what's the word? He was articulate and kind of to the point, like Hannibal Lecter is.
Mm.
More matter of fact when he was speaking.
Oh.
Yeah. A lesser known killer, but there you go. Bit of
You surprised me with that one.
art imitating life.
What?
Art imitating life. Get a bit of inspiration from
What's
the real
art?
art.
Yeah, what's
Film.
art?
Film,
okay.
characters. Yeah. Creativity, Neil. Thank you so much for listening. Find us on Patreon, TikTok, Facebook and Instagram. If you have a case suggestion or maybe even your own story, email us at mortalmusingspodcast@gmail.com.